They called her a queen. But behind locked doors, she was something else entirely. When her palace servants noticed a strange smell, they thought it was just decay from the old wing of the estate. They were wrong. What they found was unspeakable bodies dressed like children's dolls, eyes wide open, posed for tea parties. Who was this woman? A grieving soul, or a monster hiding behind a crown? Most knew her as a reclusive monarch, quiet, strange, but harmless. She was Queen Eleonora of Ireland, a tiny European kingdom swallowed by bigger powers long ago. Her portraits show a pale woman with glassy eyes, always dressed in mourning black, even during celebrations. Some said she never smiled, others said she couldn't. She took the throne in 1847 after her husband's death, but she was no ruler. Parliament ran the country, she just lived in the palace, haunting its halls like a shadow. But something about Eleonora had always unsettled the staff. She never ate in the grand hall, rarely spoke. Her wing of the castle was always locked. No one entered without her permission, and those who did, they rarely stayed employed. They say her obsession began after the death of her only child, a daughter named Alina. She died suddenly at age 10. The queen never recovered. At first it seemed like grief. She stopped attending public functions. She wore her daughter's locket everywhere. Her rooms were filled with children's books, music boxes and dolls, mountains of them. No one thought much of it. Royals grieve in strange ways, but years passed and Eleonora never aged. Her pale face remained frozen in time, like porcelain. She never remarried, never left the palace. She remained a ghost, and whispers began to grow, until the day the new maid disobeyed orders and entered the queen's private nursery. What she saw sent her screaming into the rain. The nursery was untouched by time, a room trapped in eternal childhood. Soft wallpaper with painted birds, a rocking horse in the corner, shelves lined with toys and dolls. But it wasn't the dolls that made the maid scream. It was the smell, rotting, sweet, sickly. And then she saw the first one, sitting in a velvet chair by the window, a little girl in a powder blue dress, pale waxy skin, glass eyes, blonde curls, still too still. At first, the maid thought it was a doll, until she got closer. The thing's skin was real, too real, and stitched, preserved like someone had tried to keep it from decaying. The fingers were blackened at the tips, lips sewn shut. The body had been embalmed, dressed, and posed, as if for a tea party. And there were more. 2 child-sized corpses seated at a table, cups in their tiny, rigid hands. A teenage boy in a school uniform slumped on a bench, a baby in a crib, its eyes painted over, all arranged like living children, 13 in total, all dressed in fine clothes, all lifeless or lovingly cared for. The queen called them her little angels. She fed them soup, read them bedtime stories, kissed them good night. She kept them warm, dressed and smiling, even when their jaws had to be wired in place. But who were they? Where did they come from? No death records matched the children in the room, and Alina, the queen's real daughter, wasn't among them. The royal court descended into chaos. Guards sealed the nursery. Servants were interrogated. Doctors were called in to confirm what no one wanted to believe. The children were real. They had been dead for years, some for over a decade, embalmed using ancient techniques, stitched up with uncanny precision, as if death itself had been turned into art. The queen, she denied nothing. She spoke softly, even lovingly, about them. "These are my children," she said. "They never cry, they never leave, they love me forever." But when asked about Alina, her real daughter, the queen's expression changed. She stared into the distance, then whispered she's sleeping, deep down, waiting for me. That was all. No one had seen Princess Alina in over 6 years. Official records claimed she died of scarlet fever, but there was no grave, no funeral, and the queen had refused to let anyone see the body. The investigators searched the entire palace, every wing, every cellar, every hidden room. And then, in the oldest part of the castle, behind a sealed iron door, they found it, a shrine. Photos of Alina, her drawings, her clothes, and in the center of the room, a glass coffin. Inside it lay a girl, no older than 10. She wore a tiara, her hands folded gently, a stuffed rabbit tucked beside her. It was Alina, perfectly preserved. The queen had kept her, hidden away for years. Like a sleeping beauty, she refused to let go. The queen visited this tomb every night, sometimes staying for hours, talking, singing lullabies, reading fairy tales, to a corpse. The world was horrified. News of the hidden mausoleum spread beyond the palace. People called her mad, a monster, a witch, but still, the queen remained calm. She refused exile, refused abdication, refused to even acknowledge the scandal. Instead, she hosted a grand dinner. Candles flickered, music played, goblets sparkled with red wine. The queen sat at the head of the table, dressed in her finest black gown. Around her sat her children propped up in their chairs, wearing royal garments, heads tilted, eyes glassy. Alina's glass coffin had been brought up from the crypt, placed beside her mother's chair, a throne for a corpse. The servants obeyed in silence, too terrified to disobey, too shocked to act. The queen raised her glass, toasted to family. Then she spoke. "Grief makes monsters of us all," she said softly. but I kept my children safe." She took one final sip and smiled. Within the hour she collapsed. Poisoned, no note, just silence. When guards entered, they found her still seated, slumped toward Alina, her hand resting on the glass. She had died with a smile on her face, like she had finally joined them, her family of silence and stillness. The palace was sealed, the royal lineage shattered, but rumors remain that sometimes, on cold nights, a lullaby echoes through the abandoned halls, and shadows gather around the glass coffin, where a little girl still sleeps.